Hello and welcome back to the Daily Collegian's Week 2 preview for the Eastern Michigan game this Saturday. My name is John Stuetz.
I'm Steve Petrella.
John McGonigal.
And I'm Anna Orso.
And this week we're going to be looking at the Eastern Michigan Eagles, who took down Howard 34-24 this past weekend. Penn State obviously got the big win against Syracuse this past week, defeating the Orange 23-17. So first off, how you guys doing today?
Doing well.
Just dandy.
Good. Yeah.
Just dandy. Excellent. All right. So, first off, we're going to talk a little bit about going back to the Syracuse game, what we saw out of the game. And obviously, Christian Hackenberg stepped up. He was 22 of 31, had almost 300 yards, and needless to say, won the job after that one. And so, first off, what did you guys think of Hackenberg's performance and what this means moving forward?
I thought he played well. Did what he had to win the game, and of course he did make his mistakes, which we sort of expected. But the kid clearly has the tools. I think what was encouraging for Penn State last year was that they got better as the season went on, and I think that's going to happen with Hackenberg and the rest of the team this year.
Yeah. One of the things that I noticed, at least in the second half, was that he just looked more comfortable in the pocket. As even opposing defensive ends were looping around, he kind of just felt out, the offensive line a lot more. And you saw on the pass, touchdown pass to Geno Lewis, stepped up in the pocket, read his line, knew how much time he had, and took all of it that he needed. And so he just grew in poise, I think, in the pocket in the second half.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. We're going to see him improve throughout the season. We have to remember he's only been here for a few weeks. He's still getting used to these people and his receivers. And we saw him underthrow Allen Robinson a couple different times. And I think he just kind of needs to get in his groove and kind of get used to his targets.
Absolutely. And I got a chance actually to talk to some of Christian's high school coaches, some of his family members. And one of the things I really saw was his high school, the military academy of Fork Union, really helped develop that poise in advance. Not only that, but the kid was doing military drills pretty much every day in uniform, so he obviously already had the responsibility. And then taking them through that pretty intense recruiting process that he went through. The kid's been in front of the camera before, and we saw it when we got a chance to talk to him after the game. He's answered questions from reporters before. So they have a guy who's been under fire before, and I think that definitely showed against Syracuse. One other thing we wanted to talk about was the running back situation. Obviously, Penn State rushing for less than 60 yards. I think it's 57.
Including the sacks.
57 total, including the sacks. And Johnny got a chance to check that out a little bit this week. And what are some of the things that you're expecting out of Penn State's running backs this week?
Yeah, when you look at Zach Zwinak and Bill Belton and what they did against Syracuse, they combined for 80 yards. And you look at that, it doesn't really stand out much. And the fact that it was on 30 carries, it's pretty subpar for a group. Zwinak was a 1,000-yard rusher last year, and Belton, shows the ability, on draws and certain running plays that he has the ability and, agility to make, plays in space. But what to look for against Eastern Michigan, their run defense last year was dead last in the FBS. They were 120th when it came to rushing yards per game. And what was even worse was they were the only team that gave up more than 6 yards per rush.
Just with the doctored order?
Just with the doctored order for Zwinak and Belton to kind of get back on track and look for Akeel Lynch to get some carries and see if he does something, because he didn't touch the ball at all out of the backfield against Syracuse.
Absolutely. And Steve, talk a little bit about the tight end situation. Matt Lehman out for the season, pretty devastating loss.
Yeah, I would say, excuse me, that's a big loss for Penn State. I wrote before the season some things to look for heading into training camp, and that tight end was the deepest position on the team, and everybody kind of knew that because Jesse James, and it's not like these guys are like heralded recruits, these big time, like everybody knows them. Lehman was at Shippensburg 2 years ago. Jesse James was a 3-star recruit, and Kyle Carter, I think maybe at Penn State might have been his only FBS offer. So Bill O'Brien did something to tutor these kids and get them ready, and now that he doesn't have them, he needs to find their production somewhere else. And whether it's going to be playing Belton and Zwinak at the same time, whether it's going to be Pat Zerbe, fullback, getting more involved, whether it's a position switch, which is unlikely at this stage of the season, but get creative was his point. Is we as a coaching staff adjust. We evaluate everything every day, and this is just another thing we have to evaluate and reassess and replace basically.
Right. Kyle Carter is still expected to play. We're
Day to
thinking that.
day, yeah.
So they still have Carter. We have
He didn't
Brennan
catch a
in.
pass last week.
That's true. That's true. He was underthrown on the first interception, but
Yeah.
we still have Carter, Brenneman, and
Jesse James.
and Jesse James.
Brent Wilkerson's out for a while.
Yeah.
Who knows what that means?
With a
Probably
back surgery.
most of the season, I
Yeah.
would guess.
Right. So we'll see how many of those guys they'll even need this weekend. I mean, Anna, you were able to take a look at just Eastern Michigan as a whole, and I mean, does Penn State really have a chance at a close game here, or are we pretty much just expecting?
I mean, I think if it's not a blowout, we should all be a little bit concerned about this team moving forward. There, I said it. Sorry. McGonigal talked a little bit about their rush defense was pretty abysmal last year and wasn't much better against Howard in its 34-24 win last week. I mean, Eastern Michigan was down to Howard in the fourth quarter, had to rally on a 21-point scoring run just to come back and beat an FCS team. They have a couple people defensively who can make some plays. They have a linebacker named Sean Kurtz who had something like 11 tackles last week, and a couple members of the secondary. But defensively, I just see I don't see them posing a threat for Christian Hackenberg or especially for Penn State's ball carriers. On the offensive side, they do have one offensive weapon in Bronson Hill. He's a running back, and he rushed for nearly 1,000 yards last year. So he's really their only offensive weapon, but I think if Penn State can mark him up, they're not going to have any problem.
All right, and with that, we will go through our predictions for the upcoming game. Anna, we can start off with you.
Sure. I have Penn State winning 41-7. I think it's running backs in Zach Swinick and Bill Belton will be able to capitalize on a pretty poor rush defense from Eastern Michigan.
All right, I have Penn State winning 44-13 against Eastern Michigan. I think that Hackenberg comes out and has an even better day statistically. And I think Ficken will drop another couple field goals to tack it on, and probably will be pretty comfortable lead even at halftime for Penn State.
Penn State 38-7. They're 3.5 touchdown favorite and should rarely, if ever, lose at home to a MAC team.
Yeah, I have Penn State 38-10. One thing, look for Deion Barnes on defense. He'll probably get a few sacks. The Eagles' offensive line is pretty young, so look for defensive plays to be made.
All right, absolutely. So across the board, we have Penn State winning this weekend, and that'll do it for us here from the Daily Collegian Football crew. For anyone traveling to the game this weekend, travel safe for the home opener, and have a great weekend.